So this is the second episode of our deep dive into Indiana Jones. Luke, Lewis, and I deep dived into the movies last week. So if you haven't had a chance, go and listen to that episode. But this week we're going to talk about books and the TV shows of Indiana Jones and some games as well. We do not get into the Great Circle, though, however, because that is going to be a crossover episode with Luke's podcast called Lukewarm Games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. This episode of the Gamerheads podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Mega Cat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bunte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aim Fire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi, everyone. Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger You're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads podcast. My name is Roger. Along with me is Luke Lewis. And this week we're talking about more Indiana Jones. So we didn't really get into the games yet. So there's a couple things I do want to mention. There are a lot of books that actually came out. I'm not going to get into too much of it, but there's a lot of Choose Your Own Adventures books.
Ooh,
and those are the ones
cool.
that I read. And you know who wrote some of those? R.L. Stein. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I never really got
into listeners, Goosebumps. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. I never. Were you a fan of Goosebumps? Because I never really was.
Goosebumps were pretty popping off when I was at the chapter book age, and that was in the height of I can't say Scholastic Book Fair time, and that was my library had the I think maybe it was a Pizza Hut thing or something, but you read books and then you're
and you get a personal pizza.
Yeah. I enjoyed reading at a base level anyway, but then you're telling me if I read I get pizza? All bets are off. This is the best thing ever.
I don't think they do that anymore. I don't know why. I think that was a great program.
I don't think so either. I feel like there's also, maybe it's just because I read less personally, which is something I have a New Year's resolution of I'm trying to read one book a month.
Good for you.
For pleasure reading.
Yeah.
Haven't started one yet, but it's still, I got 2 weeks left, so you gotta get on it. Maybe pick a short one for January.
Well,
anyway,
you could pick one of these Indiana Jones.
Okay, there we go.
Adventure books, yeah.
But anyway, point being, I did really love reading at that age, and those types of books that were interactive and kind of off the beaten path and they helped me fall in love with reading. You know,
nice. Yeah, me too. I don't know if you ever looked at any of these images. If you do, it's very funny.
Quick Google search.
Look up Indiana Jones and the Curse of Horror Island. This was one of my favorite images. I love this image a lot. I think this is such a cool image. A lot of the books,
it's holding a Black Panther.
Yes.
But the way he's holding it is what are you doing? What's the move here, buddy?
I will tell you, if you ever read that book, the option is either to pull out the whip or pull out the gun. Do not pull out the gun. You will die.
In Indiana Jones, you never pull out what are you doing with a gun? You shouldn't even have a gun.
I agree. But as a kid, you're like, well, there's a panther. He's got to pull out the gun, right? And then you die. Like, I learned that.
Well, it's like the hypothetical of do you bring a bat or a gun to the, or not, or a bat or a knife to the fight?
Yeah. So in these books, I don't know if they're canon, because a lot of times, especially in the Choose Your Own Adventure books, I haven't read any of the other novels. There's lots of novels. There's somewhere he meets Dracula. It's really weird. Like, there's this cult of vampires. I don't know. It's bizarre. I think that's actually one of the Choose Your Own Adventure books too. But
don't mind me. Now I'm book shopping to see if I can purchase any of these.
They're really expensive.
Abe books, a set of 5 of them is $120.
Yeah,
I bet they're pretty rare at this point.
They're super rare.
Can I read you some of these titles?
Yes,
not to derail everything.
For sure.
Listen to some of these.
Yes.
Indiana Jones and the Cup of the Vampire.
Yes.
Indiana Jones and the Eye of Fates.
Yep.
These are cool covers. Indiana Jones and the Giants of the Silver Tower. We got The Lost Treasure of Sheba.
Yeah.
That sounds like a class. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Curse of Horror Island.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
I don't know about $120 sold, but definitely, if I ever see him at a garage sale or something, I'd snag one. Wild.
Yeah, it is. So in these books, you are his sidekick. You're a kid. Sometimes you're his nephew, which I'm like, that doesn't seem canon.
So they like place you in the...
Yes.
That's funny.
Yes. So you're not Indiana Jones. You're his sidekick. You're a kid. And so either sometimes you're his nephew. Sometimes you are the head of the museum's son who is tagging along with Indiana Jones. That doesn't make any sense to me. But yes, so... This is before Goosebumps, so it's really interesting to see that R.L. Stine had a hand in a lot of these books. But there's lots of books that are not even just Choose Your Own Adventure. They're just novel books. In one of the books, Indiana Jones gets married, but his wife dies in a plane crash. This is like before he meets Marion, or maybe he's met Marion, but like when he was 26 and she was 16. But anyway, he marries this girl and she dies in this plane crash. Again, I don't know if any of this is canon because nobody really says anything about this. But it's fun. They're fun reads. And then the other thing that I'll just mention with the books is that there was 2 RPGs that came out. Like TSR first came out with one in the 80s, and where you are Indiana Jones and you're role playing. And TSR is more famous for Dungeons and Dragons. They also came out with Marvel superheroes too around this time. And then they came out with Indiana Jones. I never got this book because it's really expensive, but also it didn't get very good reviews. And I can't imagine it being fun to play because one person gets to be Indiana Jones and everybody else has to be either Willie or Short Round. Like, everybody wants to play Indiana Jones. Why would you want to play anybody else?
Yeah, so that's a little tricky.
Right? That's always the problem I have with the toys too. I'll just mention this. So all the toys, I had Indiana Jones, like action figures, but all the toys were characters from the movies. I want to have adventures about other people. Like, why would I want that? Right? So what do you, you have Indiana Jones. Oh, I'm so jealous.
I saw this out of the corner of this was my uncle's, who was the person that introduced me to comics and video games as a kid.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately passed away when I was in high school, but my grandma gave me a lot of, I have his comic collection and a lot of his toys and stuff that we grew up playing with when I was a kid. But this is for viewers.
That's awesome.
I think this is from the 80s, like when the originals came out. So I have it on my desk next to, or on my shelf with a photo of my uncle, but had to bring that out when you mentioned toys.
Yeah, I love that. And then West End Games, who kind of took over a lot of the RPG stuff after TSR kind of fell apart. They came out with an Indiana Jones RPG game. This one is a little bit different. You created characters in the Indiana Jones universe, so like you created your own unique characters. But again, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm Wisconsin Jones and I'm going on this adventure. Like, what? It's not fun.
To find the missing cheese wheel.
Right? Like, it's just not as fun as, like, you run into Indiana Jones. It just doesn't sound as fun. Like, so I think Indiana Jones, from a perspective of, like, creating characters, like, because Star Wars can do it because there's a Star Wars universe, and, like, you can create different adventures in the Star Wars universe. You can create different Jedis and stuff like that. But there's only one Indiana Jones, and, like, to be not the main character, to be a side story member of the Indiana Jones world, like, I don't know, it's weird. So I just wanted to mention some of the books,
sure,
and some of the lore that happens outside of the movies. But now let's talk about the games, because the games are interesting.
Very interesting.
Do you remember the first Indiana Jones game you played? Do you know the first Indiana Jones game you played?
Yes, I believe it was The Emperor's Tomb on the original Xbox. One of my most played games from childhood, ironically. Not because it's good. Well, it's not bad either. At the time, it was incredible. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
My dad and I were very into it when I was a kid. Just like getting to relive movie moments. You're fighting in the club. You're swinging with the whip. It had kind of like sim elements to it where you had to drink water for health. And I remember there's a crazy boss fight in the game where you have to swim underwater and like manage your breathing. And then you're harpoon shooting this crazy octopus with glowing yellow eyes. Did you play this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool game in terms of just getting to live out the fantasy of being Indiana Jones. There's puzzle solving, there's combat, there's like, in terms of scale, it was a very impressive thing at the time. It was one that my dad picked up. I bought him for his 60th birthday an Xbox Series S, and he found the game available digitally.
Yeah.
So a couple Christmases ago, he downloaded it and we tried to play it together because we never beat it. Because when I was a kid, I accidentally deleted our save file when I was trying to load the game. I was like, I was a young kid. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't mean to do it. But so we never finished the game because it was pretty hard, especially as a kid, and it took us so long to get there. So we tried to beat it when I was visiting, and we were there for like 3 days, and I think we spent most of it trying to finish this game. And like my grandma was over, and after dinner, she's sitting down having a cup of coffee or whatever. We're playing this game, and we're just trying to like do this cinematic sequence where you're like running across rooftops, and then you have to nail 2 whip swings.
Yes. I can't.
And the
do
whip
that
swings are
day.
so hard.
I know.
So hard.
I know what part you're talking about. I hate that part so much.
We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was insane. And like I play Souls games, I play challenging platformers, I play all kinds of stuff. Like I can handle a game, but oh my God, could we not do this? And even as adults. So we were very excited at the promise of the Great Circle, and we can get into that a little bit later. But so that was my first game, a little long-winded, but and then the other one I remember real quick, I'll shout out. I was gifted an Atomic Purple, one of the translucent Game Boy Colors, and I had Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure that was one of the only cartridges I had for that game. Like when I think back to my Game Boy Color, it's an Indiana Jones machine. And that was another one that like, it was quite a hard game, especially for like a young kid to figure out. And at the time I hadn't played a lot of handheld stuff. I'd predominantly only played on console. So it was like, I didn't quite get the language of like an isometric handheld game at the time. It's one that like if I ever acquired a Game Boy Color again, I wouldn't mind just like giving it a go to see like, can I make it to the second level? I would love to just know what else is out there.
Yeah. I'd never played the Game Boy version. I played the I mean, it came out on the N64, I think, or something like that. Yeah, N64 and PC. I played it on PC. I didn't play it on N64.
I have the wiki open here. Let me do some date checks. I think so.
Was it 2000? Early 2000, 1999, early 2000, somewhere around there, I think.
Looks like 99 on PC and
then 2004.
And then there was a 2D version that came out 2 years later in 2001 for the Game Boy Color.
For the Game Boy.
That's what I played.
Interesting.
So you played, was it a 3D game on N64 or like?
No.
Okay.
It was like
similar perspective somewhat.
Yeah, it was like a side scroller. So see, I get this game mixed up with the Fate of Atlantis, even though they're not the same. Like the Fate of Atlantis is a
because I was going to say that's like an adventure game, right?
But the reason I get it mixed up is because it has the same female protagonist in both of them.
Interesting.
Which always throws me off. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, like those two games like meld in my mind. Although I'm looking like Fate of Atlantis was like early 90s and Fate Infernal Machine was like late 90s. I don't think I played a lot of Infernal Machine. I think I played a little bit. I just don't remember a lot of it. I played a ton of Fate of Atlantis. Have you ever played Fate of Atlantis?
I have not. I've watched a little bit of streams of it just out of curiosity, and I think it was a couple years ago, MinMax did an episode of their Deepest Dive series on the game, and I checked that out a little bit. I'm intrigued. I like adventure games quite a bit, so I'd be curious to see if I enjoyed it. Nice.
It's very good. My first Indiana Jones game was Raiders of the Lost Ark on Atari 2600.
Hell yeah, it was, Roger. Let's go.
So
this box art is sick. Honestly.
It is, right?
It's really cool.
It's really cool. And so when this game came out, it was like critically acclaimed. Like everybody loved this.
I mean, in 82, yeah, that I'm not
it's
sorry.
Hard
I'm not
as hell.
No, I'm not talking shit. I'm just like it makes sense that like at the time. Yeah.
No, agreed. I mean, like,
sorry, I just swore. I should have asked if we could.
No, you can fucking swear. I don't care.
I'm just obsessively scrolling this wiki to learn more about.
This game was really hard. You had to go to the black market to buy stuff. My friend and I played this game a lot because back in the 80s, I shouldn't say this, but back in the 80s when we didn't have a lot of money and our parents wouldn't buy a lot of games, like you got one game and you're like, this is the game you're going to get. And that was one of the games that we had, my friend and I. Same friend that had Molaram on the back of his door is the same
classic.
Kid. Yeah, classic. And we played this game over and over. We made it to the map room once, but I still don't even know. Even to this day, I'm like, I have no idea how to beat this game. But like,
I'm watching a speed run of it right now.
It's hard. I don't understand what goes on. Like Indy's falling at some point, and then there's like this guy that I think it's the Talt or whatever his name is, the guy with the hand with the burnt hand. I think he's in this game, but I don't really understand what's going on. It's really wacky. It's a wacky game. But back then it was really cool, but not as bad as some of the other games. There was this game called Indiana Jones and the Lost Kingdom. It was on the Commodore 64. This is the wild thing about the 80s. Like there was no like concern of like who owned the property of anything, right? So people are like, I'm going to make an Indiana Jones game where he's going through a haunted house. And that's what this game is. He doesn't even have a whip. He has a cane and I think he does have a whip, but he hits enemies with the cane and they're like bats and something. I don't know. And he's on a haunted house and it's just weird. Like there's some really weird games. And then you have like the Temple of Doom. Do you ever play Temple of Doom on the NES or any arcade at all?
I think I may have messed with it because I feel like a lot of these games ended up on collections or different things, or like you're saying arcades, where it's like I probably messed around with it, but I don't think I ever played any of them in a meaningful way.
Yeah. That Temple of Doom wasn't that great. I mean, it was cool because it finally looked like Indiana Jones. Like that was the first time you're like, oh my gosh, this literally looks like Indiana Jones. And I get what they're trying to get. You know, there was a guy that's throwing flaming hearts at you. That's got to be Molaram. And then there's minecart chases and there's, thuggies. But none of it ever made sense. Like the game didn't make any sense. And then there's a couple other games in here, but like then you start getting into like Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade in '89, which is interesting because that came out right when the movie did. But you have an action game and a graphic adventure, and if I remember correctly, the graphic adventure was way better than the adventure game. Like it was pretty decent. You get Fate of Atlantis, which is up to The Great Circle was my favorite Indiana Jones game. The voice acting is originally it didn't have voice acting when it first came out on like DOS. I don't think it had. Not DOS. I think it was like Amiga or something like that. They didn't have voice acting at first, but then they brought in a voice actor, and it was really good. Like
I feel like the franchise lends itself better to that genre. Like if it's not an action game, it's a puzzle solving adventure with like narrative focus. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, and in this game there is a lot of like you had to search for, like, you had to figure out puzzles. It is really cool. It was really good. There is the Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures, which came out on the Super Nintendo. Did you ever play that game at all?
I don't think so. I'm looking at screenshots here. It's not ringing a bell.
So it's the same line as like the Star Wars games that they came out with, the Super Star Wars games.
Okay. I did play those.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to say this, but if you played those, you played the Indiana Jones games.
I mean, that's fair. Licensed games in a nutshell are a very interesting grab bag in a sense of like the varying levels of quality, the varying levels of like authenticity to the property, the different genres within the same franchises. Like I always find all that very interesting.
Yeah. There is one game in this list here, what I absolutely loved. It came out in 96. This was Indiana Jones Desktop Adventures. They also came out with a Star Wars Desktop Adventures too. I think it was like Yoda's Desktop Adventures. And it was a procedurally generated game. And you were like a little chibi Indiana Jones. And you had to like go and collect artifacts. And you had like, sometimes it was Nazis. Sometimes it was like characters with spears and they throw them at you. And you had to try to avoid the enemies, and like you could say, I want to make it a bigger one, I want to make a smaller one, and it was just like this. It was the same time that like Minesweeper was really popular, and so then they would just create this little like windowed adventure for you, and really I kind of wish that they brought that back because it was actually really a lot of fun. Like, and it was just a time waster. It was like, oh, I'm just gonna play a quick game of Indiana Jones Desktop Adventures, and it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Did you know that Emperor's Tomb takes place right before Temple of Doom?
That makes sense. Although I feel like there's like the fight scene in the club where you're wearing the tuxedo, like, so he does that again?
I guess.
And goes to that same place? Like, unless it's a different club, it's definitely the same suit. So that's kind of funny. But I don't think I was tracking much with the story as a kid. It was, for me, way more of like, the role playing of Indiana Jones in the moment and going on these adventures. And I think this one, unlike a lot of these other ones that we've mentioned, I feel like the earlier Indiana Jones games that I've since checked out and just like know of, more puzzle focused, more kind of narrative focused, whereas this Emperor's Tomb felt like there's like boss fights, there's combat, there's like elaborate action sequences and stuff, and the scale of it is, you know, it was more like clearly inspired by like Tomb Raider, or we're going to make a Tomb Raider Indiana Jones game kind of deal.
Yeah. No, I agreed. You know, it's interesting because I think he went into, I don't know when the original Tomb Raider, it was before this for sure. It
what
felt
very 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
What, 94, 95, somewhere around there?
Because PS1, that was my first console. So that sounds,
I agree. I feel like Emperor's Tomb was influenced by the Lara Croft movie did it, or game did it. Why can't we do it, right?
Which is interesting because I was reading up a little bit on different Indiana Jones projects, and there was a canceled Indiana Jones game it was originally a Tomb Raider game, and the development was like struggling, and so then they were going to revert it, or not, like they were going to change over things to an Indiana Jones project, and then that was canceled.
Really?
Let me see if I can find the name of it. It was canceled games. 1 second.
Yeah. As you look that up, there are some Lego games that came out as well. I don't know if you were a fan. I played a couple of them. They're okay. There was 2 Indiana Jones Lego games that came out.
I liked the Lego games a lot. Doubling back real quick, it didn't even have a name. It was just...
Really?
It was a reskin Tomb Raider game by a team called Core Design, which I'm not familiar with. Apparently they worked on the Rick Danger series, Chuck Rock, Thunderhawk, Tomb Raider, and Fighting Force. And their parent company is Eidos Interactive.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, rabbit holes.
No.
Sorry, you're talking about the Lego games. I enjoyed the Lego games a lot.
Did you? Yeah. I think there was 2 of them, right? The original Adventures and then the Adventure
I think
Continues.
I got the pack-in one when I got a Xbox 360 for Christmas, because I remember the 2-pack with it was Kung Fu Panda, which is a pretty good licensed platformer, it turns out, and then Lego Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I should like the Indiana Jones Lego games more. I didn't really get into them. I don't know why.
That's fair.
it just didn't. I think.
Did you get into any of the Lego games, or was it just kind of a?
Oh, the Star Wars ones. I like the Star Wars ones a lot.
I think those are the ones that are the best, to be honest.
Yeah, I agreed. And then, did you play Staff of Kings at all?
You know what's funny? I bought it at a used game shop on Wii about a year ago, which is really weird. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to crack it open. I'm saving it for the next time my dad visits, because friend of the show, Jacob McCourt, sold me one of his Wii U's. And so I had a Wii U, so I was, strolling the Wii and Wii U aisle at my local shop, and it was $5. And I was like, I've never played this. So I picked it up. But it definitely, based on the cover art and just what I know of the game, it falls into that. Remember that era when the Wii came out and we had PS3 and Xbox 360, but then any licensed game that came to the Wii, PS2, PSP, and like DS was just a noticeable downgrade version if you had those systems.
Yes. That's this game.
Yeah, that's fair. It's funny
that you bought it for $5. I bought it full price. I was like, whoa, Indiana Jones, a new game.
Like when we had the Wii, it was like, for video viewers, I'm doing the whip motion, but like when the Wii came out, there was like, it was anything that had motion was like, oh, that's going to be perfect on the Wii, because everyone loves to do that for hours.
And it's not fun.
Of course it's not. But at the time, it was like, I remember making the case to my mom why we needed a Wii, because I had an original Xbox, and growing up, she was like, let's have one console at a time. Like, if you want a new console, we can get a new console, but like, you don't need to have like multiple systems at one given time. Eventually, we, as time went on, I got different systems, but specifically with the Wii, I remember making the argument. I was like, Mom, I'll get exercise. Like, I'm going to be moving. I'm playing the Wii. I'm going to be up off the couch.
Oh my gosh.
And she didn't need that argument. Like, she was like, we can get the Wii eventually, but just not right this second or whatever. And then I think I got a Wii for my following birthday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm going to exercise, Mom.
Yeah. I worked at Best Buy when the Wii came out.
When the Wii came out? Oh my God.
And that's all the salespeople.
To you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Did you even have to sell them though? Because they were just always selling out. Like,
that's
it was
the
just
thing.
Like,
it was crazy. It was funny. So, God, this is really gonna date me. So while you were like asking your mom, I was asking my wife, "Can we buy?"
I love that.
And she got it. She got it for our first anniversary.
I love that.
Yeah, so that was a big surprise. I was not expecting.
On a similar note, Claire and I got the Switch together for our first anniversary. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I like that little through line of our relationships. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. I did end up. Yeah, so we got married in 2005. I got this game in 2009 when it first came out. I was all excited. It's not good. It does have Fate Atlantis though on it, so that's cool.
The Wii?
Yeah. I mean, it's still an adventure game, right?
Okay.
It's still point and click adventure.
Like that would be kind of cool to play on my TV with the Wiimote and go around. I don't know.
That was worth it. But the game itself,
cool. That's awesome. That made me far more inclined to turn on that game, to be honest. Okay, cool.
I think you have to look up though how to unlock it, because like originally I think it was you had to beat the game and then you would get it, but I think there's a way.
There's got to be a code or something. Reddit will let me know something.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to rattle off a couple random ones that I just need to know if anyone has played. Did you play Indiana Jones and the Lost Puzzles?
No, I never.
That was apparently a BlackBerry and an iOS game.
What? No.
There was also Indiana Jones Adventure World.
No, that was on Facebook, right? That was a Facebook
that was a
game.
Zynga game apparently, which I didn't know was a thing. I didn't either, but I'm just like, I've learned a lot tonight. I thought I knew a lot, but there's a lot more.
It's so
like
bizarre.
Indiana Jones. There's a lot of treasure out there to uncover.
That's
Maybe
right.
some of it's not treasure.
Some of it should just be buried.
Who's to say? Yeah, some of it should remain. Some of it does not belong in a museum.
That's right. Some of these games do not. Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm excited to talk about The Great Circle with you. I haven't finished it yet. I don't
Still
think
working through it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we get to that point, but I mean, Indiana Jones was more misses than hits when it came to video games.
When we look at this wiki, it's like, there's the small section of like, this is great. And then there's a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say like the Indiana Jones Greatest Adventures, the NES, the Super NES game that it covered the trilogy for the time. And it's still, the graphics are good. I mean, Super Nintendo holds up to this day, right? And it's not bad. It's just, I think as an Indiana Jones fan, we've seen a rehash of the same story over and over and over. That's what made me excited with Emperor's Tomb, with the Staff of Kings. Like, it was new, and Fate of Atlantis and Infernal Machine. Like, these are new stories in the Indiana Jones universe. Again, some were better than others, but I was kind of getting sick of playing the same. Like, okay, yeah, Last Crusade. I mean, we all know what happens in Last Crusade, and if I don't win, then that kind of sucks. Like, so I'm excited that there's new stories being told in the Indiana Jones universe.
Me too.
Yeah. Anything that you want to wrap up with? Any like final thoughts around Indiana Jones?
I think I would just say I still love Indiana Jones. I still love going back to the movies. I still love playing some of these games, for better or for worse. I'm excited for. I think the franchise still has a lot of possibility, even without Harrison Ford in the role, whether it's a recasting or it's just exploring that universe with new characters and different things. I know there was the canceled Disney Plus show. Like, I'll take whatever you give. I enjoy it. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, I'm the same way. In some ways, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see Indiana Jones being recast because, Harrison Ford is my Indiana Jones. I don't think Harrison Ford wants that character to be recast, but I mean, that's not really his say. Like, he, yes, he is Indiana Jones, but he doesn't really own the rights to Indiana Jones. I mean, there was talks that I want to say Chris Pine because that's what Harrison Ford said, but it's not Chris Pine. It's Chris. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't think of his last name. Chris Pratt, yeah, was going to play the part of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I feel he's a good actor, but it's just like, to some extent, I don't need the like Hollywoodifying of it. It would almost be cooler if it was like an unknown person just does like something interesting, or if it was like, this is a different Indiana Jones actor, but it's like completely different era, completely different circumstances. Maybe we spin some alternate reality thing where they're not even like canon. I don't know. But then that's a whole thing too, where it's like, it's kind of fun to have it be canon, but I digress.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I don't think they're going to do this because the movie didn't do so well. But is it Phoebe Waller? Is that her last name?
I think it's Phoebe Walker Bridges. I'm going to Google that real quick because now
as you look that up, I think they probably were thinking that was going to be the next Indiana Jones.
Well, I think they were also probably thinking Shia LaBeouf would take off, and that would be his own thing of like his son, the obvious spin-off trilogy. Oh no, you were right. Waller, not Walker.
Is it Waller? Okay.
Waller Bridge.
Bridge.
I kept wanting to say Bridges, but great actress. Really enjoyed her performance. Yeah,
she was so good as Wombat, which was his little nickname for her. I think that they thought that was going to be like, oh, we're going to spin off, and she's going to be this new heroine that goes around and travels and does all this adventure stuff. She's a great character. Don't get me wrong. She doesn't have like. She has a lot of character growth because she's not in it for the same reasons that Indiana Jones was in it, right? Like, it's not about it belongs in a museum. It was about, like, for her, it was just like, who can get me the most money for this thing?
He just feels less like troubled, like, you know what I mean? She's just like a more functioning adult, so there's almost less like drama to it. I don't know. I'd still see it. I'd watch it, but I almost feel like a show, like an HBO style 8-episode thing, would benefit Indiana Jones. Like, have this is the adventure of the week, and we're going to a different location, and it all kind of feeds in together, and we can have kind of a longer journey, but like more intimate character.
Yeah.
Moments.
I like that idea. Yeah. I like that idea.
But on a big TV kick recently of just like a lot of good TV right now.
Yeah, there is.
So,
or an animated series. I can see that happening.
Animated series would be cool.
I don't know. I mean, it's a weird situation too, because Disney owns the rights of Indiana Jones and Lucasfilms, but the publishing aspect is still owned by Paramount. It's really weird. Except for the new stuff that's being made, then
sure,
that's all Disney. I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful because of the new game that there's new fans out there and that Indiana Jones is back on the front burner and people's minds, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we head out, why don't you tell people how they can follow you on social media, how they can listen to your podcast, and all those fun things?
You can follow me on socials. I'm at Lukewarm Lewis, mostly on Blue Sky these days, not really touching Twitter anymore. The account's still there, but it's mostly just like, here's podcast episode, and I'm not like active on that platform anymore, but I'm always happy to chat about games and whatnot over on Blue Sky. And then, like I said, at the top of the show, you can find me on the Lukewarm Games podcast and Crossplay Conversations on all podcast platforms. And then Crossplay, we do have a video version over on YouTube. We're at Crossplay Convos if you want to check us out there. But thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. It was really, really fun having you on the show. I hope you had a good time.
Loved it.
Good. And listeners, go. I'm going to put the links in the show notes that you can follow those shows. Give them a listen. Give Luke a follow on Blue Sky as well, because why not? He's a cool guy. And listeners, thank you so much for giving us a listen. If you like what you hear, leave us a review. We want to hear what you have to say. Part 2 of this series, I should say, is going to show up on Lukewarm Games. We haven't decided when that's going to happen yet because of the fact that we haven't
finish the game.
We got to finish the game.
Turns out schedules and beating games. Also, I'm kind of trying to savor it. I'm not rushing through it. So
Me too.
We'll record it when the time is right, but
That's
excited
right.
for that one.
Me too. So stay tuned for that. Until next week, everyone, stay safe and game on, and take care. Bye.